Most people talk their dreams away before life ever has the chance to reward them. They announce their plans too early. They explain themselves too often. They argue for recognition before earning it, and then they wonder why nothing moves. Here is a truth few are prepared to hear. The moment you stop explaining yourself, life begins explaining you. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is preparation. If you stay with this message until the end, you will discover why the greatest turns of destiny arrive quietly, why forcing outcomes delays them, and why mastering silence places you ahead of those who speak loudly yet move nowhere. Listen carefully, because what follows may save you years of wasted effort. Silence is the workshop of strength. Every great achievement begins its journey in a quiet mind. When you talk excessively, you scatter your energy. When you remain silent, your energy gathers, and energy that gathers becomes force. Nature itself does not announce its intentions. Seeds do not speak before they break the soil. The sun does not explain why it rises. It simply rises. So why should you? Silence builds discipline. It sharpens judgment. It allows observation, and observation is the foundation of wisdom. Those who are always speaking are often still searching. Those who are silent are usually building. Why? Everything comes naturally when you stop forcing. Forcing is fear in disguise. When you rush outcomes, you signal doubt. When you constantly seek validation, you confess uncertainty. But when you remain silent and consistent, you align yourself with natural order. Opportunities are attracted to readiness, not noise. When your inner world becomes calm, your outer world reorganizes itself around that calm. People begin to trust you more. Life begins to respond faster. Doors open without being pushed. The universe listens more closely to discipline than to desire, silence, and self-mastery. Silence trains self-mastery. When you do not react immediately, you gain control. When you do not explain unnecessarily, you gain authority. When you do not reveal your plans prematurely, you protect your momentum. Self-mastery is the ability to wait without anxiety and act without hesitation. The person who can remain silent under pressure possesses an advantage money cannot buy. Let your results do the talking. Words promise, results convince. The world is tired of declarations and hungry for demonstrations. When you allow your work to speak, you remove competition. When you allow silence to accompany action, success arrives without resistance. People begin to notice you without being reminded. Respect arrives without being requested. Success comes without being chased. That is the law. There is a remarkable strength in remaining quiet, a force so powerful that most people overlook it entirely because they are too busy proving themselves or filling empty spaces with words that serve no purpose. Think about the last time you felt pressured to speak up just to be heard, to justify your ideas, or to convince others of your worth. How often did speaking result in clarity, and how often did it only dilute your energy and scatter your focus? Silence, in its truest form, is not merely the absence of speech. It is a deliberate, controlled power that works quietly in the background, while the world around you hurries, debates, and exhausts itself on trivial matters. The moment you begin to understand the strategic advantage of silence, you begin to operate on an entirely different plane. You begin to notice that those who dominate conversations, who insist on asserting themselves at every turn, are often chasing recognition rather than creating it, whereas those who remain composed, thoughtful, and quiet attract attention without even trying, as if the universe itself bends to acknowledge their presence. The first step in mastering this power is recognizing the cost of unnecessary speech. Every word you utter carries energy, and every conversation in which you over-explain or overstate your intentions drains that energy instead of concentrating it toward action. When you speak excessively, you are scattering the very essence of your focus. You are giving away parts of yourself, your ideas, your intentions, your ambitions, to others before you are fully prepared to use them. Imagine a seed that spends all its Energy trying to announce itself before it is ready to grow. The soil may hear it, but it will not nurture it. The rain may fall, but it will not absorb the message. Growth requires preparation, and preparation requires focus. Silence is the soil in which your strength takes root, and it allows you to gather your energy, to concentrate your intent, and to grow without interference. Think for a moment about people you have admired or figures in history who achieved greatness. Notice how rarely they needed to explain themselves in the moment. Their presence alone commanded attention, not because they demanded it, but because they had cultivated a calm, deliberate mastery over their energy. When they spoke, it was measured, intentional, and impactful. Every word carried weight because it was I, infused with the energy they had been quietly building. There is a magnetic quality in this kind of restraint, a force that draws opportunities and respect toward those who understand that power is not found in the volume of speech, but in the depth of thought. To remain silent is to become invisible in one sense, yet infinitely visible in another. The world begins to watch you in ways that cannot be commanded, and the subtle influence of your focused presence begins to operate around you like a quiet current that cannot be ignored. Silence also allows for observation. When you are not preoccupied with constantly expressing yourself, you can see more clearly. You notice patterns that others miss. You hear truths that others drown out with their own voices. Life begins to reveal its hidden hue. Rents when you stop trying to push your way through with noise. By holding your tongue, you gain insight into the motivations, desires, and weaknesses of those around you. You start to understand the timing of opportunities and the rhythm of events. You begin to anticipate the moves of others, not because you are manipulating them, but because you are fully present and receptive. This clarity is a form of power in itself. It allows you to act decisively and strategically, choosing the right words, the right moments, and the right opportunities to assert yourself. Consider also the psychological impact on others when you exercise silence. People are often uncomfortable with it. They are used to filling silence with chatter, with reassurance, with proof. When you remain calm and quiet, you introduce an element of mystery, an aura of control. You are signaling to the world that you are confident enough not to justify yourself, that your value is inherent and does not require constant validation. In doing so, you change the dynamics of every interaction. People begin to listen differently, to consider your presence and your actions with more seriousness. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their impatience, their insecurity, or their impulsive behavior, and in that reflection, you gain influence without saying a single word. Silence is also a form of self-preservation. Every time you speak without necessity, you expose yourself to scrutiny, misunderstanding, and criticism. The less you reveal, the more you retain, and the more you retain, the more power you carry with. There is a profound freedom in understanding that you do not have to justify yourself at every turn, that your actions, your consistency, and your results will speak louder than any argument you could make. In fact, this freedom allows you to operate without fear. You are no longer entangled in the need for approval or recognition because you have discovered that the world cannot touch the substance of what you are quietly building. At its core, silence is a strategy of mastery. It is an understanding that life moves according to natural laws, and by rushing, shouting, or forcing your way into attention, you often disrupt the very currents you are trying to navigate. Silence aligns you with the rhythm of life. It allows patience to develop, decisions to mature, and influence to compose. Those who cannot remain silent often act impulsively and prematurely, undermining their own potential. Those who understand the strategic value of quiet observe, plan, and act when the moment is perfect, when their energy, presence, and insight are fully concentrated. To live this way is not easy in a world addicted to noise and instant gratification. The temptation to speak, to justify, to assert, or to announce is constant. But every time you resist that temptation, you strengthen a muscle far more important than your voice, the muscle of self-control, of concentration, and of disciplined energy. Each moment of silence is a deliberate choice to invest in yourself rather than in the opinions or distractions of others. Over time, this discipline compounds. It manifests as authority, as clarity, as undeniable momentum that cannot be replicated by those who rush to fill the air with meaningless words. Ultimately, silence is a statement of power without a single declaration. It is the quiet confidence that understands. The world will notice those who build while others talk, those who move with intention while others react with impulse, those who conserve their energy while others exhaust theirs in noise. It is the understanding that you do not need to scream to be heard, you do not need to explain to be understood, and you do not need to rush to succeed. Your power grows quietly, invisibly, and irresistibly until the moment arrives when your actions speak so clearly, so undeniably, that they render all previous noise irrelevant. In that moment, your silence has done more than any words ever could, and your strength, carefully cultivated in quiet, finally makes itself known. And as you begin to embrace this way of being, you start to notice the subtle shifts around you. People listen more, opportunities present themselves without prompting, and the energy that once scattered through idle talk now fuels your focus and your progress. You are no longer chasing recognition or validation, because your silence has already earned it for you. And with that recognition comes an almost effortless authority, a magnetic influence that allows you to navigate life in a way that few ever understand. This is the essence of strategic power, the kind that does not shout, does not demand, and does not force, but simply exists, grows, and eventually commands respect in its pure, most natural form. There is a hidden current that flows through every moment of your life, a force that is often overlooked by those who are too busy rushing, reacting, or speaking to notice it. This current is the energy within you, the raw potential that drives your thoughts, your actions, and your destiny. Most people expend this energy in constant motion, through conversation, through endless explanations, through futile attempts to force the world to acknowledge them, and in doing so they scatter it, weaken it, and lose sight of the true source of power that lies quietly within. But when you allow yourself to stop, to pause, to remain still, you begin to feel the energy accumulate, to sense its growth, to realize that stillness is not emptiness, but the fertile ground in which why great achievement is conceived. Energy grows in stillness because it is here, in the quiet moments, that the mind becomes clear, the vision becomes precise, and the inner force becomes focused. Consider how often you rush into action without reflection. You make decisions in haste, speak without thinking, and react to situations before understanding them. You try to push forward, to move mountain with your hands, when the real power lies in the patience to wait, observe, and let the natural course of events align with your purpose. Stillness is not about inactivity, it is about concentration. It is the deliberate act of gathering your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy into one point, focusing it until it becomes a magnet for opportunity and insight. In stillness, the mind unclutters, and the soul begins to speak. The world outside may be chaotic, loud, and demanding, but when you cultivate stillness within, you create a sanctuary in which your energy is preserved, refined, and strengthened. Every thought becomes sharper, every intention becomes clearer, and every action becomes more impactful because it is driven by a concentrated force that cannot be achieved in distractio, or haste. Have you ever noticed how people who are constantly busy rarely produce meaningful results? They are moving, yes, but without direction. They are talking, yes, but without substance. They are reacting, yes, but without strategy. Movement without stillness is like trying to direct a river by stirring it with a stick. The energy is there, but it is unfocused, misdirected, and ultimately wasted. Stillness, on the other hand, allows the river to find its natural path. It allows your energy to accumulate, to flow in the direction that aligns with purpose rather than pressure, to gather strength before it is unleashed. In stillness, you learn to distinguish between noise and signal, between what requires your attention and what does not, between actions that move you forward and acti, ons that only create motion without progress. The growth of energy in stillness is also intimately tied to clarity of vision. When you are quiet, when you stop trying to force outcomes, the mind begins to organize itself. Thoughts that were previously scattered, competing for your attention, start to settle into patterns of understanding. Insights emerge that were invisible in the chaos. Solutions appear to problems that seemed insurmountable. Opportunities present themselves not because you have demanded them, but because your inner focus has created a resonance that naturally attracts them. This is the law of stillness. When your energy is concentrated, it becomes magnetic. The world begins to respond, not to your words, but to the force you have cultivated in silence. You begin to move rough life with a precision and purpose that those who cannot remain still will never experience. Stillness also has a profound effect on your emotional energy. Consider how often your reactions are driven by impulse, anger, fear, impatience, or doubt. When you allow yourself to remain quiet, to step back from immediate reaction, you give yourself the chance to process, to reflect, to choose. In these moments, your emotional energy grows stronger rather than dissipating. You learn to respond with intention rather than react with habit. You learn to direct your feelings toward constructive outcomes rather than letting them scatter your focus. Emotional energy is the fuel of action, and stillness allows it to accumulate without leakage. Every choice you make from this grounded place carries more weight, more influence, and more potential than the impulsive decisions made in the heat of noise. This principle extends to the way you interact with others. When you are able to remain calm, composed, and quiet, your presence carries more influence than words ever could. People are drawn to those who possess energy that is contained, measured, and intentional. They recognize the difference between those who are reactive and those who are reflective, between those who speak to fill space and those whose silence speaks volumes. In stillness, your energy becomes a statement of power. It is a quiet authority that commands respect, attention, and trust without needing to demand it. Opportunities, alliances, and support tend to gravitate toward you naturally because you have cultivated a force within that others cannot replicate. The growth of energy in stillness also allows for strategic action. When your mind, your emotions, and your focus are aligned, you are no longer moving blindly through life. Every step you take becomes purposeful, every decision becomes calculated, and every action becomes a direct expression of your intent. Stillness gives you the space to plan, to observe, to anticipate, and to strike with precision. It is the calm before the storm, the concentrated charge before release. The world around you may be in chaos, but your energy gathered in stillness is untouchable, directed, and unstoppable. There is also a spiritual dimension to this growth. When you allow yourself to pause, to be still, and to focus inward, you tap into a deeper current that transcends the ordinary. Inspiration, intuition, and creativity flourish in quietness. Ideas that were blocked by noise, stress, and distraction emerge with clarity. Solutions that seemed elusive appear effortlessly. Your awareness expands, and you begin to sense connections, patterns, and opportunities that were invisible when your energy was scattered. Stillness is the gateway to higher understand, because it allows the mind to rise above trivial concerns and focus on what truly matters. Even in practical terms, the benefits of stillness are undeniable. Consider how often people make mistakes when they rush to act. They speak before thinking, They decide before understanding, and they invest energy before they are ready. When you cultivate the ability to remain still, you give yourself the advantage of preparation. Your energy is concentrated in the right places, your thoughts are organized, and your actions are more likely to succeed because they are informed, deliberate, and precise. Stillness turns potential into power, preparation into opportunity, and intention into results. The paradox of stillness is that it is not passive. It is active in its restraint, powerful in its tense, and forceful in its accumulation. Those who understand this principle realize that the world often moves too quickly, reacting to noise rather than observing reality. By stepping back, remaining quiet, and allowing your energy to grow in stillness, you position yourself ahead of the crowd. You are not competing with the reactive. You are creating in a space that others have ignored. You are investing in yourself, your clarity, and your power, while others expend theirs on distraction, debate, and unnecessary movement. And so, when you truly embrace stillness, you begin to notice a subtle transformation. Your energy feels denser, more potent. Your focus sharpens. Your emotions stabilize. Your decisions carry authority. The world begins to respond to you in ways it never did before. Why? Are no longer at the mercy of circumstance or the chaos of others, because you have cultivated a force within that cannot be shaken. You have learned that moving too quickly, speaking too often, or reacting too impulsively dilutes your power, while stillness concentrates it, amplifies it, and prepares it for precise, inevitable action. Every great achievement, every extraordinary breakthrough, very moment of profound influence begins here. In the quiet accumulation of energy, in the patient gathering of force, in the deliberate choice to remain still while the world rushes past. Energy grows in stillness, not in motion, not in noise, and not in haste. It grows in the mind that observes, in the soul that waits, and in the heart that aligns with its purpose. The still mind becomes a reserve, wire of potential, a magnet for opportunity, and a platform from which life itself begins to respond. Those who understand this principle do not chase results, they attract them. They do not demand recognition, they earn it. They do not force outcomes, they allow the natural unfolding of events to align with the concentrated energy they have patiently cultivated. And as you begin to internalize truth, you will notice the difference immediately. Life feels less chaotic, decisions become clearer, and the currents of opportunity begin to flow toward you rather than away. You will understand that stillness is not inaction, but preparation, not emptiness, but power, not passivity, but strategic accumulation. The energy that grows in these quiet moments is yours to direct, yours to focus, and why? Ours to release at exactly the right time in exactly the right way. In this understanding lies an advantage that few ever recognize, a force that few ever harness, and a power that cannot be taken from you because it is built within. There is a truth in life that is rarely spoken aloud, but is understood instinctively by those who achieve lasting success. Results speak louder than explanations. You can talk endlessly about your intentions, your dreams, your plans, or your struggles, but until there is tangible evidence of progress, words are just noise. Most people underestimate the power of results because they have been conditioned to believe that being heard or being understood is equivalent to achieving. But achievement is measured in what is produced, in what is delivered, in what man manifests from effort, not in how much one can explain, justify, or defend. Consider the last time you were impressed by someone in your life. Was it because of their stories, their promises, or their explanations? Or was it because of what they actually accomplished, what they actually produced, what they actually brought into the world? You felt the weight of their results, the undeniable truth that actions always carry more authority than words. It is easy to get caught in the trap of over-explaining. You feel compelled to convince others of your abilities, to defend your choices, to justify your ambitions. You believe that if people only understood your thought process, they would recognize your value. But in reality, Every explanation you offer is a distraction from your ability to create T. Proof that matters most. The world is indifferent to reasoning. It responds only to evidence. When you spend more time talking about what you plan to do than actually doing it, you are giving away your energy and credibility. You are investing in perception rather than production. And while perception may buy temporary attention, it cannot replace the long-term authority that comes from results. Think about how many people you have encountered who speak confidently about what they will achieve but never follow through. They make grand promises. They craft impressive visions. They inspire with words, but the world eventually forgets them because nothing concrete emerges. Contrast that with the quiet individuals who labor diligently, who act without announcing every step, who focus on delivering results instead of explanations. Their achievements become impossible to ignore. The proof they produce speaks for itself. It does not need amplification or justification. It carries its own weight, demands attention, and earns respect effortlessly. This is the undeniable law of life. Results are the only universal language that commands credibility. There is also a personal dimension to T, his principle. When you rely too heavily on explanations, you are seeking validation from external sources, which is a precarious foundation for success. Your energy becomes fragmented because you are trying to convince others rather than focusing on the work itself. But when you shift your attention from explanation to execution, something remarkable happens. You stop wasting time on what others think, and you start investing your energy in what you can control, your actions. You begin to measure your progress by tangible outcomes rather than by approval or recognition. This shift creates momentum. Each step forward, each small victory compounds into larger achievements. Your credibility grows not because you asked for it or explained yourself, but because it is earned through consistent, visible results. Moreover, results carry a resonance that words never can. An explanation is fleeting. It exists only as long as someone listens. A result, however, endures. A completed project, a solved problem, a tangible outcome. These remain long after the conversations have ended, long after the promises have faded. They leave a mark on the world. They shift perceptions not through persuasio, but through undeniable reality. Consider how society values accomplishments. When someone invents something, creates something, or solves a problem that impacts others, the world takes notice instantly. No amount of speeches or explanations could substitute for the impact of that single achievement. Results transcend opinion, bias, and argument because they exist in the realm of fact, not interpretation. Another critical aspect is the efficiency of focus that results demand. When you concentrate on producing tangible outcomes rather than explaining your ideas, your mind becomes disciplined, your priorities sharpen, and your energy is directed toward execution. Every choice becomes aligned with the end goal. You begin to recognize distractions for what they are, obstacles to results. You stop wasting energy defending your position and start channeling it into the work that matters. This alignment between focus and action is what separates those who achieve from those who merely talk about achievement. The world is filled with talkers, but it is powered forward by doers. Those who understand that credibility is earned, not requested. Consider how this principle affects relationships and influence. People are drawn to those who produce results because results are proof of competence, reliability, and vision. When you consistently deliver, others begin to trust you without needing long explanations or promises. Your work becomes your endorsement, your actions become your reputation, and your credibility becomes unshakable. This is the magnetic effect of results. They command respect without a single word. On the other hand, when words outweigh action, trust erodes, influence diminishes, and opportunities slip away. People may admire your enthusiasm, but admiration without evidence does not translate into impact. Only results do that. It is also worth noting that focusing on results transforms the way you handle failure and obstacles. When explanations dominate your approach, Failure is devastating because it exposes your gaps in justification. You have invested in perception rather than production, and the collapse of perception feels personal. But when results dominate, failure is simply feedback, a data point in the process of growth. You are focused on creating tangible outcomes, and every setback teaches you how to refine, adjust, and improve. Your energy is directed toward building something real rather than defending an idea. And this resilience is what separates those who ultimately succeed from those who falter. Furthermore, results generate momentum that cannot be achieved through words alone. When you accomplish something, no matter how small, it sets in motion a chain of events that propels you forward. Opportunities multiply, recognition grows, and the confidence that comes from demonstrated capability fuels further action. Words may inspire or persuade, but action and results create tangible pathways. Each result validates your effort, reinforces your strategy, and opens doors that explanations could never unlock. This is why those who focus on producing rather than explaining always appear ahead in life. They have created a self-reinforcing cycle of progress, influence, and opportunity. It is also essential to understand the subtle power of restraint in this context. When you resist the urge to constantly explain, justify, or announce, you conserve energy, sharpen your focus, and allow your results to emerge naturally. This restraint is not passive, it is deliberate, strategic, and disciplined. It prevents you from scattering your efforts across meaningless interactions and channels them into productive work. The quiet individual who understands this law acts with intention, knowing that every step taken contributes directly to visible achievement. By contrast, those who rush to explain their purpose or defend their actions often dilute their energy, obscure their impact, and reduce the clarity of their own vision. Fin. Ally, the true mastery of this principle lies in internalizing the idea that results carry their own authority. When you consistently produce, when your actions manifest tangible outcomes, you no longer need validation from others. You no longer feel compelled to explain or justify because the world sees what you have accomplished. Your results speak for you, and their voice is universal, inshallah, tangible and enduring. In this state, you operate from a position of strength, clarity, and influence. The energy that others waste on persuasion and explanation is now fully devoted to creation, innovation, and progress. The law is simple yet profound. Words may open doors temporarily, but only results keep them open. Actions validate intention. Tangible outcomes convert potential into power. Still, sense and focus amplify the effect of every effort. When you understand this, you begin to see the futility of over-explaining and the necessity of producing. You begin to prioritize substance over story, action over assertion, and proof over persuasion. You recognize that the world is indifferent to promises but responsive to performance, and you shift your energy accordingly. When this principle I fully embraced, life begins to operate differently. People trust you instinctively. Opportunities align with your path naturally. Your presence commands attention without a word. Your achievements accumulate, building a legacy of credibility and influence that explanations alone could never achieve. You become someone whose impact is undeniable, whose authority is earned, and whose results speak so clearly that words are no longer necessary. And as you move forward with this understanding, you realize that the mastery of life is not in talking about what you will do, but in producing what matters, consistently, intentionally, and visibly, allowing your work to leave a lasting mark on the world. There is a subtle yet profound power in patience, one that is almost invisible to those who live. In a world addicted to speed, instant gratification, and immediate results, patience is often mistaken for inaction, for waiting passively while opportunities slip by, but true patience is neither passive nor idle. It is an active, deliberate alignment of your energy, your focus, and your intentions with the natural rhythm of life. It is understanding that everything worth achieving arrives not because it is demanded or forced, but because it is allowed to grow in the right conditions. Impatience, by contrast, is a signal that you are trying to wrest control from forces that operate on their own timeline. It is an attempt to accelerate the universe according to your will, rather than to move in harmony with its natural flow. And yet, most people live in constant friction with this principle. Pushing, forcing, and rushing as if speed alone is the measure of progress. They attempt to shortcut growth, to compress the timeline of achievement, and to claim results prematurely. In doing so, they often sabotage their own success, producing stress, mistakes, and setbacks that could have been avoided simply by exercising the quiet strength of patience. Imagine a farmer planting a seed. He does not scream at it to grow faster. He does not dig it up every day to check if it is producing fruit. He does not demand an immediate harvest. Instead, he prepares the soil, plants the seed, waters it, and protects it from harm. Then he waits, observing the sun, the rain, and the natural cycles that nurture life. Growth occurs because he aligns himself with the process, not because he interferes or rushes it. Life operates according to a similar principle. Every endeavor, every dream, every significant achievement requires a period of incubation, a time when energy, skill, focus, and intention accumulate quietly beneath the surface. Patience is the skill of maintaining faith and focus during this unseen growth, understanding that every step, every effort, and every moment contributes to a result that cannot be forced. This alignment with natural success requires more than just waiting. It demands awareness, discipline, and strategic restraint. When you are patient, you are actively observing the opportunities and obstacles around you, learning the patterns of life and positioning yourself to act at the precise moment when your efforts will yield maximum impact. Impatience, on the other hand, causes you to act prematurely, often when the conditions are not yet right, which results in wasted energy, frustration, and disappointment. True patience, therefore, is not a surrender to time, but a mastery of it. It is the art of knowing when to act and when to wait, when to push forward and when to allow circumstances to ripen. Those who practice this form of patience rarely stumble. In the long term, because they are moving with life, not against it. Consider the impatience of most people in modern society. They expect instant results, immediate recognition, and rapid validation. They measure their worth by the speed at which things happen, rather than by the quality of what is achieved. This mentality leads to mistakes, burnout, and disillusionment, because meaningful success is rarely instantaneous. It requires preparation, learning, and incremental progress that may not be immediately visible. Patience allows you to endure this unseen phase, to remain committed to your purpose, and to continue cultivating the skills, knowledge, and mindset necessary for long-term success. It is during this period of quiet cultivation that your energy consolidates, your strategy becomes clear, and your influence begins to take shape without you even having to announce it. Patience also strengthens your ability to make better decisions. When you rush, your judgment is clouded by urgency, anxiety, and pressure. You act impulsively, and even the best intentions can lead to poor outcomes. When you exercise patience, however, you give yourself time to gather information, to evaluate options, and to anticipate consequences. This deliberate pacing allows your actions to be more accurate, more strategic, and more effective. It transforms potential mistakes into learning experiences and turns hesitation into calculated timing. The world rewards those who can act decisively at the right moment, and patience is the tool that ensures you never act too early or too late. Another critical aspect of patience is its ability to foster resilience. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. Without patience, These setbacks feel like permanent obstacles, causing frustration, doubt, and discouragement. With patience, however, setbacks become part of the natural rhythm of progress. You understand that obstacles are temporary, that timing is fluid, and that persistence is often the defining factor between success and failure. Patience transforms adversity into preparation, delay into opportunity, and waiting into a period of energy accumulation. It allows you to continue moving forward without panic, to maintain focus without distraction, and to remain confident in the eventual realization of your goals. Patience also has a compounding effect on relationships and fluence. People instinctively recognize and respect those who act with calm deliberation rather than impulsive urgency. When you respond thoughtfully rather than react hastily, when you act only when conditions are right rather than rushing to be first, others begin to trust your judgment, rely on your guidance, and follow your lead. This trust is not built through words alone, but through conscious demonstration of timing, discipline, and foresight. Patience allows you to cultivate a reputation of reliability and wisdom, qualities that cannot be faked and cannot be accelerated. The longer you practice it, the more natural and powerful it becomes, and the more your influence grows without the need for argument, persuasion, or explanation. It is also important to recognize that patience, amplifies the value of action. Actions taken too early are often wasted, misdirected, or incomplete. Actions taken at the right time, when preparation is sufficient and circumstances are favorable, carry a force that cannot be achieved otherwise. By waiting for the right moment, you ensure that your energy is maximized, your impact is magnified, and your results are sustainable. Patience is not about doing nothing. It is about preparing everything, conserving your strength, and acting only when the alignment of conditions guarantees the most effective outcome. The contrast is stark. Impatience produces scattered, short-lived results, while patience produces enduring, transformative outcomes that resonate far beyond the initial effort. The practice of patience also develops an inner sense of confidence and faith. When you are patient, you are trusting in your own preparation, your own skill, and your own timing. You are confident that the effort you are investing now, though unseen, will yield the results you are seeking. This confidence is not arrogance. It is grounded in discipline, knowledge, and alignment with natural law. It allows you to remain calm under sure, to resist the urge to compare yourself to others, and to continue pursuing your purpose without distraction. It cultivates an inner serenity that is increasingly rare in a world obsessed with speed, noise, and instant gratification. Perhaps the most transformative aspect of patience is how it positions you to recognize and seize opportunity. Those who rush are often blind to subtle signals, minor openings, and quiet advantages because they are too focused on forcing their own agenda. Those who are patient, however, are fully present, fully aware, and fully aligned. They see the chance to act clearly, they sense the precise timing, and when the moment comes, they move with precision and confidence. In this way, patience is not passive waiting, it is the active preparation that allows to synchronize your energy with the opportunities that already exist, rather than trying to manufacture them artificially. Ultimately, patience is the alignment of effort with natural timing. It is understanding that forcing an outcome may yield immediate results, but they are often fragile, incomplete, or unsustainable. True success, the kind that lasts, the kind that commands respect and produces impact, requires a rhythm, a timing, and a natural unfolding. By cultivating patience, you ensure that your actions, your energy, and your focus are harmonized with this rhythm. You move with life, not against it, and in doing so, you unlock a force that is invisible to the impatient, unstoppable to the prepared, and inevitable to those who understand the power of waiting. When you fully embrace this principle, you will notice a profound transformation in the way you live, the way you act, and the way life responds to you. The pressure to force, to rush, or to control diminishes. Decisions become clearer, actions become more deliberate, and results begin to manifest with greater consistency. You begin to understand that patience is not simply a virtue, it is a strategy, a form of mastery, and a pathway to natural success that cannot be substituted by speed, noise, or effort alone. It is the quiet, steady accumulation of energy, focus, and alignment that allows life to reward you at the precise moment when you are most ready to receive it. Now, as you reflect on what has been shared, you begin to see the quiet patterns that shape true success. You understand that power does not come from the noise you create, from the explanations you offer, or from the speed at which you chase outcomes. Power comes from the energy you conserve, the focus you cultivate, the results you produce, and the patience with which you allow life to align with your efforts. Every moment you remain silent, every decision you take deliberately, every action you deliver with intention, and every parry of waiting with purpose brings you closer to the reality you desire. The world may rush, the crowd may clamor, and distractions will always seek to pull you off course, but your strength, your clarity, and your influence grow quietly, invisibly, and irresistibly, like a force that cannot be ignored. So begin now. Step into the power of your silence. Let your energy gather. Let your focus sharpen. And let your patience guide your steps. Act where you can make a difference, but do not force what is not ready to unfold. Produce results that speak for themselves and allow the world to recognize your effort without a single word. Align with the natural timing of life and trust that every disciplined choice you make today is building the foundation for a success that is both inevitable and LA. Sting. Move with intention, act with precision, and remain steadfast in quiet confidence, knowing that the journey you are on is shaping you into someone who commands respect, achieves influence, and creates impact far beyond what you could demand or explain. And as you leave this moment, carry with you the understanding that your next step is the one that matters most. Focus on it, act on it, and allow your results to illuminate the path for the rest of your life. Let your work, your restraint, your energy, and your patience speak louder than any words, and let that power transform the life you are ready to create. The time to begin is now, quietly, deliberately, and with unstoppable resolve.